Along the eastern coastline of the United States, where waves crash all year long and sunlight sparkles across the water, something strange is happening. The beaches that were once calm and peaceful are now blanketed by countless tiny dark blue creatures. At first, people thought it was just a passing natural phenomenon, but they were wrong. One by one, then in swarms. European green crabs, an invasive species from across the Atlantic Ocean, are taking over these waters. They crawl onto the shore, invade the marshes, and devour everything in their path, from small marine life and seaweed to the eggs of native fish. Within just a few years, seafood harvests have dropped by nearly half. Coastal ecosystems have been thrown out of balance. Local economies have fallen into crisis. The U.S. government now spends more than $22.6 million every year to control and repair the damage. A small crab, no larger than a human hand, has managed to make an entire nation uneasy. No gunfire, no war. Yet this is a true biological invasion happening right beneath the surface. And the question that continues to puzzle scientists is, how could such a tiny crab from Europe travel thousands of miles across the ocean to conquer America's shores? Could it be that humans themselves, through trade and maritime transport, have unknowingly opened the door for this invader to enter? This story is not just about a crab. It is a warning. Nature's way of striking back when humanity disrupts the fragile balance of our planet. A small creature that shakes an entire economy, and the battle to reclaim the ocean has only just begun. The scientific name of this species is Carcinus maenas, commonly known as the European green crab. It is one of the most adaptable and resilient crustaceans on Earth. An adult crab typically measures between 6 to 9 centimeters, or about 2.4 to 3.5 inches across its shell, which is usually dark green or olive brown. Despite their small size, their claws are surprisingly powerful and precise. These crabs are omnivorous, feeding on everything from algae and small crustaceans to fish larvae and seafood eggs, which allows them to thrive in a wide range of environments, whether it is saltwater, brackish water, or even freshwater. Their environmental tolerance is astonishing. They can survive in temperatures ranging from 0 to 30 degrees Celsius or about 32 to 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and in salinity levels from 4 to over 50 parts per thousand. They can even live for several days out of the water as long as the humidity is high enough, a trait that helps them spread quickly along coastlines. The green crab originated from the North Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, where the climate is cold, the water is highly saline, and living conditions are harsh. These factors gave them remarkable endurance and reproductive strength. A single female can lay more than 200,000 eggs per season, allowing their population to explode in a short time. By the late 19th century, as maritime trade routes expanded, green crab larvae were accidentally carried across the Atlantic Ocean in the ballast water of cargo ships, reaching ports like Massachusetts and New York. When that ballast water was discharged, the larvae were released into a new environment, one with few natural predators and an abundant food supply. Within just a few decades, they had spread across the east coast of the United States, then appeared on the west coast, Canada, South America, and even South Africa. Some specimens have even been recorded in Australia, making Carcinus maenas one of the most dangerous marine invasive species on the planet. The spread of the green crab was not merely a coincidence. It was a direct consequence of human maritime activity and global trade. A small creature, but with extraordinary biology and unintentional help from humans, it has crossed oceans and disrupted the ecological balance of an entire continent. The European green crab possesses a biological design often regarded as a model of adaptability among crustaceans. Its outer shell contains a high concentration of calcium, hard yet flexible, allowing it to withstand impact and protect itself from predators. Beneath that shell lies a strong muscular system that enables the crab to move quickly across various terrains, from rocks and mud to sand. It has 5 pairs of legs, with the front pair forming powerful claws that serve not only as weapons for attack, but also as tools for cutting, crushing, and tearing food apart. Its complex mouthparts allow it to process a wide variety of foods, from plankton to hard-shelled organisms. The digestive system, though simple, is highly efficient, and combined with a flexible metabolism, it allows the crab to survive for long periods even when food is scarce. In terms of reproduction, female crabs can store sperm and choose to fertilize their eggs only when environmental conditions are favorable. Each reproductive cycle can produce hundreds of thousands of eggs, and even if only a few hundred juveniles survive, that is enough to establish a new colony. The larvae go through multiple molting stages before reaching maturity, a process that helps them quickly adapt to changing environments. Remarkably, the green crab can tolerate extreme variations in salinity, survive within a broad temperature range, and thrive in environments with low oxygen levels. Their ability to exchange gases through both gills and skin allows them to survive for extended periods even when trapped out of water. They can also regenerate lost limbs, an evolutionary advantage that enables rapid recovery after injury or attack. All these traits make the European green crab a species with an almost perfect biological design. It does not rely on speed or size, but with resilience, adaptability, and powerful reproduction, it can dominate nearly any ecosystem it invades. The European green crab first appeared along the coast of Massachusetts in 1817. At that time, it was merely considered an unusual species that had drifted in from distant waters. However, within just a few decades, their numbers increased at an uncontrollable rate. Coastal regions from Maine to New Jersey began reporting severe declines in native marine life, particularly clams, mussels, and small fish. The green crab attacks every level of the ecosystem. It feeds on fish eggs, larvae, and shellfish, disrupting the natural food chain. Its presence has destroyed spawning grounds for many commercially important species, such as cod, flounder, and herring, leading to a significant drop in fishery yields. This decline has directly affected the livelihoods of thousands of coastal fishermen across the United States. By the early 20th century, the green crab's range had expanded dramatically. From the New England region, it spread southward, reaching as far as Florida. Studies show that part of the population was carried by ocean currents and cargo ships through the Panama Canal, moving into the Pacific coast. There, the crabs quickly adapted to new environments and continued to reproduce, spreading through California, Oregon, and even Alaska, where cold waters were once thought to be too harsh for their survival. Faced with this rapid expansion, U.S. authorities and scientists launched several control programs. Experimental trapping campaigns were implemented, encouraging local fishermen to capture green crabs to reduce their density. In many regions, the species was officially listed as one that required urgent eradication. However, due to their high reproductive capacity and remarkable adaptability, these efforts provided only temporary relief. Whenever an area was cleared, within just a few weeks, the crabs would reappear. Marine research institutes carried out numerous biological experiments in search of weaknesses, adjusting salinity, changing temperatures, and introducing natural predators. Yet none of these measures produced consistent long-term results. The green crab's ability to survive in low-oxygen environments, tolerate fresh water, and adapt to various conditions has rendered nearly all biological control methods ineffective. Out in the field, American fishermen continue to collect green crabs as part of their daily routine. They set traps and cast nets, sometimes hauling in hundreds of crabs at a time. Although many are removed, their offshore population shows little sign of decline. What was once a form of harvesting has now become an act of environmental protection, as failing to control them in time could mean losing valuable seafood species to their relentless appetite. This is a battle with no clear victor. The green crab remains present along nearly the entire U.S. coastline, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific. Human efforts have only managed to slow their expansion, not eliminate them. Against a species with such extraordinary adaptability, complete eradication seems nearly impossible. As the European green crab spread throughout the coastal regions of the United States, traditional control measures such as extermination or limiting reproduction proved largely ineffective. In response, local fisheries agencies began implementing large-scale harvesting campaigns, aiming both to reduce population density and to make use of the enormous biomass already present in the wild. The green crab harvesting process was modeled after traditional crab fishing methods. Fishermen used traps made of stainless steel or hard plastic, placed near the shore in muddy or shallow areas, the prime habitats where green crabs breed and feed most actively. The bait, often fish scraps or fish heads, lured the crabs with its strong scent. After 6 to 12 hours, the traps were pulled up, each haul yielding anywhere from dozens to several hundred crabs, depending on the location. Because green crabs are smaller than Native American crab species, fishermen needed to catch large quantities for them to have commercial value. Fishing boats operated on a rotating schedule, collecting, sorting, and transporting live crabs back to port within the same day to prevent loss of freshness. At collection sites, the crabs were placed in artificial saltwater tanks to reduce biological stress before packaging. A portion of the harvest was chilled or frozen immediately to preserve the quality of the meat. Alongside these harvesting activities, some research projects experimented with semi-natural green crab aquaculture, mainly for biological study and to provide a stable supply for restaurants. However, commercial farming was tightly restricted, as environmental authorities feared the risk of reintroducing the species back into the wild. Once the harvesting system became stable, a new question emerged. What should we do with tons of green crabs caught every day? That was when the culinary and food science industries stepped in. Chefs and researchers began experimenting with different ways to cook the crabs. Although they contain less meat than native crabs, the meat is sweet, firm, and rich in protein. Many coastal restaurants in states such as Maryland, Virginia, and Louisiana started adding European green crab dishes to their test menus. Popular recipes included crab soup, crispy crab cakes, spaghetti with crab sauce, and Cajun-style stews. The results received positive feedback. The taste was similar to local crab, but the price was lower. From this idea, the Eat the Invaders campaign was born, a collaboration between ecologists, fishermen, and chefs encouraging people to consume invasive species such as green crabs, lionfish, and zebra mussels. The goal was to create an economic incentive for population control, turning an ecological problem into a legal and profitable resource. Beyond cuisine, green crabs also found use in the food and biotechnology industries. Seafood processing companies extract protein from the meat to produce nutritional powders or use it as an ingredient in animal and aquaculture feed. The crab shells contain chitin, a natural compound valuable in the production of pharmaceuticals, biofertilizers, and medical materials. Several research institutes have developed technology to extract chitosan from green crab shells, applying it in the creation of biodegradable biofilms. However, despite these initial successes, experts have warned that the commercialization of invasive species must be carefully regulated. If consumer demand grows too strong, it could unintentionally create a reverse conservation incentive, meaning people might start managing and breeding the species to ensure a steady supply rather than eliminating it. This represents a fine line between biological control and economic exploitation. To minimize risks, many U.S. states have established rules that green crab harvesting can only take place in certified invasion zones, and transporting live crabs outside these areas is strictly prohibited. In some regions, the crabs must even be processed on-site to prevent accidental reintroduction. Today, the European green crab is both a target of biological control and a secondary economic resource for coastal fisheries. Its presence has introduced a new perspective. Humans are no longer fighting invasive species solely through destruction, but are also redefining their value within the ecological and economic systems of the modern world. The contrast between the two coasts of the United States vividly reflects the global picture of ecological change. In the South, the European green crab is thriving, rapidly multiplying and adapting well to warmer and shifting environments. Meanwhile, in the far north, the Bering Sea off Alaska, the snow crab, once a symbol of the cold water ecosystem, has suffered an abrupt and unprecedented collapse. Official data from the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, show that between 2018 and 2022, the snow crab population declined by more than 90%, equivalent to roughly 10 billion crabs disappearing from the wild. This figure far exceeds normal biological fluctuations, prompting scientists to label it as a large-scale localized extinction event. Satellite data and seabed surveys reveal that the main cause lies in climate change and the abnormal warming of ocean waters. In the past, during winter, a thick layer of sea ice covered the Bering Sea, keeping deep water temperatures stable at around -1 degree Celsius to 2 degrees Celsius, or about 30 to 36 degrees Fahrenheit, an optimal range for snow crabs to live, reproduce, and protect their young larvae. In recent years, however, sea ice has melted 1 to 2 months earlier than usual, allowing the ocean to absorb more heat during summer. As a result, bottom water temperatures have risen to over 3 degrees Celsius, or about 37 degrees Fahrenheit, exceeding the crab's tolerance threshold. As the environment changed too quickly, the crab's metabolism accelerated, increasing their energy needs while their food sources, mainly plankton and small benthic organisms, could not keep up. Billions of crabs grew weak, starved to death, or were forced to migrate farther offshore, where harsher conditions and higher predation risks awaited them. The migration of predators such as Atlantic cod into northern waters only worsened the population collapse. The economic and social consequences of this event have been devastating. In late 2022, the state of Alaska was forced to cancel its commercial snow crab season for the first time in history. Hundreds of fishing vessels remained docked, and thousands of workers lost their jobs. The fishing industry's revenue dropped by more than $200 million in a single season, causing many seafood processing and shipping companies to go bankrupt. Coastal fishing communities, which relied almost entirely on snow crab harvests, faced a severe livelihood crisis. In contrast, along the Atlantic coast and southern shorelines, the European green crab, an invasive species from across the ocean, is flourishing. Warm waters, moderate salinity, and the lack of natural predators allow it to reproduce rapidly, dominate habitats, and expand into new regions. While snow crabs are restricted by their need for cold water, green crabs easily adapt to fluctuations in temperature and food availability. This opposition reveals a striking paradox of nature. When environments change, the most successful species are not necessarily the strongest, but the most adaptable. The green crab has capitalized on the new conditions, while the snow crab, once the ruler of cold seas, has failed to adjust in time. Marine scientists emphasize that this phenomenon is not just about two species, but a global warning of imbalance in ocean ecosystems. When a native species collapses, it leaves behind an ecological gap, a space that invasive or heat-tolerant species can exploit. This chain reaction affects commercial fish species, seabirds, and plankton, gradually reshaping the entire biological structure of the ocean. In the long term, this crisis is directly tied to marine food security. The disappearance of snow crabs affects not only fisheries, but also export value, the international seafood market, and regional economic stability. Some experts warn that if global warming continues, other valuable species such as salmon, cod, and lobster could face similar risks. The story of the green crab and the snow crab, when viewed side by side, reflects the intricate relationship between human activity, climate change, and marine ecosystems. One species' overgrowth and another's collapse are not just natural occurrences, they are the cumulative result of decades of emissions, exploitation, and habitat alteration. As global temperatures rise, cold water native species will be pushed to the margins, while invasive or warm-adapted species continue to expand. This is the oceanic paradox, where the success of one species marks the downfall of another. And more profoundly, it is proof of the imbalance that humanity has unintentionally created within the very natural systems on which it depends. Out on the waves, steel traps are still being lowered, waiting for hundreds of green crabs to get caught. Fishermen continue their work, not to destroy, but to control, to keep the ocean from going beyond its limits. Each crab is brought up, rinsed with cold seawater, sorted, packed, and from there begins a new journey, from the ocean to the dining table. Dishes made from green crabs are no longer unfamiliar. Spicy American-style steamed crab with garlic and lemon, buttery grilled crab, or crispy crab cakes served in seaside restaurants. From an invasive species, they have gradually become a sought-after ingredient, bringing both economic value and a way for humans to turn danger into opportunity. But behind those delicious dishes lies a story of survival. Who truly rules the ocean? Humans, with intelligence and technology, or the crabs, with their unshakable instinct to survive? This battle is far from over. Even when millions of crabs are caught each year, they continue to reproduce elsewhere. And when we turn them into food, they become part of a new food chain, one created by humans themselves. In the next video, you and Mr. Cheo will dive deeper into the world of professional crab fishing in the U.S., where fishermen face rough seas, freezing cold and deadly races just to haul in catches worth tens of thousands of dollars. It's a harsh world, where only those with enough perseverance can survive in the heart of the ocean. If you want to explore that journey, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and follow the next episode of this series. Because the story of the crab, the sea, and humankind is far from over. With every cast of the net, a new chapter begins.